So our game was about disaster management, and the game teaches relief that is being provided during a disaster. So it was focusing on earthquakes initially. So the game that we created takes 4 players, and each and every player gets 5 survivors of an earthquake, and they have to move forward in the game in order to save the survivor, and they have to make the survivor reach to a safe zone. To do that, they need certain resources like water, food, health.
ये डाइस है, ठीक है, इसको रोल करेंगे ना तो ये क्या है? हॉस्पिटल, ठीक है, ये वाटर, ठीक है, ये मीडिया, फूड है, ठीक है, ये खाने के लिए।
And these resources were provided through bank or government of sorts, and the resources are provided on the basis of a die. So the die contains, instead of number, it contains the resources and an empty resource through which you don't get anything, and a black spot through which you get a disaster. So if you get a disaster, you need to pay a price to compensate the disaster. So in case you get fire because of the earthquake, you need to be giving water as the resource to the bank.
तो अगर तुम्हारे पास ये तो यहाँ पे है, तो तुम नेक्स्ट लाने के लिए क्या चाहिए रहेगा? C2 से C3 जाने के लिए राइट। तो अगर तुम यहाँ पे आए तो यहाँ से सेफ जोन में जाने के लिए
वाटर, फूड, 2 वाटर, 2 फूड, 1 मीडिया।
समझ आया?
Now there were some more elements like media, 3 media resources. You can trade it to get another resource. So we took some real life examples and tried to abstract it into the game. So our game was too much of a simulation game, so we tried to abstract it to a good level.
earthquake की वजह से क्या हुआ? Sickness. उसके वजह से तुमको क्या चाहिए रहेगा? फूड और मेडिसिन। पेशेंट को फूड और मेडिसिन, तो तुमको एक फूड और मेडिसिन देना पड़ेगा बैंक में, ठीक है? गेम क्या है? गेम है कि तुमको यहाँ से यहाँ पहुँचना है सबसे जल्दी, ठीक है? तो जितना जल्दी जो सबसे पहले पहुँचेगा वो जीतेगा, ठीक है? एक टाइम पे तुम खाली एक इसको मूव कर सकते हो, और मूव करने के लिए कुछ मैंने पेपर दिया ना, इसमें लिखा है, देखो इसको C1 बोलते हैं, इसको C2 बोलते हैं, इसको C3 बोलते हैं, ठीक है?
The game had too many elements. So when you provide relief for earthquake, it had too many elements to be taken care of, like relief centers. You have to build a relief centers, that is infrastructure, and then providing that through different areas and taking care of the people in the same time. Meanwhile, we are creating earthquakes as well. So it was too complex to be understood by a 13 or a 14-year-old. So we tried abstracting it. So while the kids played the game, the abstraction didn't really go that well, because the goal of our game was to teach relief during a disaster, but the message that they were getting was cooperation, trading and many other things, but relief was not really getting through.
तो तुमको जो ये तुम कलेक्ट करोगे ना, उसमें से ऐसे पेयर बना के अपने प्लेयर्स, ये क्या है? पीपल है, उसको सेफ जोन में लाने का, बचाने का। अर्थक्वेक यहाँ पे हो रहा है, अर्थक्वेक फैल रहा है, पर तुमको उस अर्थक्वेक से इनको वापस सेफ जोन में लाने का।
There was not enough conflict between the players themselves or anything that changes the gameplay. So the resources were good and everything was going great, but they were not able to understand the point of the game. So to accomplish that, I think we need to work on providing some element which distorts the game in some or the other way, so that it creates tension or a conflict. The other thing we need to work on was that right now no displacement is happening. So we were thinking that an earthquake can be created by moving the board through some cards, or displacing some elements, or moving the board apart. As right now it just becomes a race to reach the end, to the safe zone, but no one's really feeling the earthquake. So to feel the earthquake, I think it's better to put the board aside, pull it apart. Also, kids were trading very randomly. There was no agenda as such. So when they were trading, cards to be able to move forward, or when they were giving resources in order to be able to save the person, they were not really saving the person by understanding that they're giving food or health and other things to the survivor in order for the survivor to exist or survive. They were not understanding this whole thing. Instead, they just memorized it and they just perform the action in order to win. So I think that did not come out that well. So we can work on that aspect of it where they're using the resources well enough and they know what they're doing. So the major problem that they faced was that they were thinking that the game was too slow and they were getting bored of it, and when we asked them what they want to change about it, they wanted it to finish faster. They wanted it to have some sort of excitement element. Also, there were some tricks that the kids used because they had to trade their cards in order to get the resources for moving forward. They were doing 2 levels of trading. So if a person does not have a card, instead of trading it with someone else, they traded it with some other person, got the card, and then traded it with someone else so that they get the card that they have. So there was a good amount of strategy involved. But the strategy was only focusing on trading and not any other aspect of self-relief or things like that, which I think trading sort of overpowered the whole game. So maybe we can work on that. I think trading is still a very essential part of the game because that leads to cooperation and other things. But still we need to make it a bit lesser in the game, maybe to increase the, to show the self-sufficiency or the disaster relief and other qualities like that.